room was packed. We had a keynote speaker from the state housing office, and again, this state administration has shown themselves all the time in getting themselves into Carroll County and coming up with ideas to continue to serve our community.
Do you mind if I add to that and
Absolutely.
check it off my list for,
Yeah.
that way I don't duplicate? I got to introduce Assistant Secretary Danielle Meister, and I was supposed to introduce you, but they didn't let me. I don't
No,
know if they
you-
were afraid
exactly.
or what. But our staff and the Assistant Secretary, they communicated throughout the day. She has so much experience doing some of the things our staff does. Like so many of the people we've met from the state, I think she will be a good asset.
Their diplomas and/or at the same
Commissioner Rothstein was originally invited to this, but since he was going to be honored here in Westminster, substituted me. But either way, we were going to take Celine Stickle with us,
Exactly.
and it's so great, the relationship with the state people. Secretary Woods did a fireside chat afterwards, and man, really nailed it. But anyway, back to Celine, he made sure, I think he told her I think he started by asking her to join us on the stage, and by the third time, I think she realized that she better join us on the stage or else. And I think it's so great that any relationships we can develop, that's great. And something I didn't realize, one of the many things, unemployment for military spouses is 21% and has pretty consistently been 21%. And everybody's working hard on it, but it doesn't seem to move the needle. Yeah, there we are in the reception area doing a photo, and it was interesting. Secretary Woods, like I said, he nailed the talk, and he came and got us and said, "You guys need to get out here. We need a picture." He's great, and he said, "You're here because of Carroll County probably does it the best in the state of Maryland, and the state of Maryland's getting an impact award, and you guys should be part of it." So I really appreciate that, and like I tell everybody we meet through the state, we'll be bugging you again, and we do. And I think that's too much from me. So thanks everybody this morning. We're ready for item number 1, approval to purchase 2 parcels that are right next to Cape Horn Park, at Cape Horn Road and Route 30, just below Manval, for people who don't know the area.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So we're here before you to seek approval to purchase 2 parcels that are contiguous to the existing Cape Horn Park. The 2 parcels, I think we're going to have a picture that's going to come up on the screen to kind of give you a kind of a layout of what it looks like.
It might take a little bit. Everything's running a little.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
It's in there
So
with
we'll-
you. It's minimized for you. You present it.
Oh, okay. It's
Oops, sorry.
Chris told us that the
All right.
service. Okay.
So the existing course, the Cape Horn Park is right off Cape Horn Road North. The 2 parcels that we're looking to purchase are the parcel, there's actually 2 parcels, a small parcel, the 2.99 acres, which is off Route 30, and as well as parcel 49, which is just a little less than 41 acres. The existing Cape Horn Park acreage right now is just a little less than 60 acres in itself. The purchase of the property is going to be 100% funded by Program Open Space, and this includes all incidental costs that go along with it. That includes appraisals, title surveys, and even closing costs. So it's all included in that. I'll let Robin talk about it. She did an expert job at negotiating with the current owner, so I'll let her go into that.
Well, we negotiated with the state's attorney for the estate of Judith Green for an amount of 1.12 million, 1,120,000 for both of those parcels. So they agreed to that, and that was a result of the
Appraisals.
you have the two appraisals, the price coming in at that point. So actually saving some money there. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty good price for both of those parcels.
Yeah, with program open space, with both of those, you, DNR's regulations are you either pay the lowest of the two appraisals or average of the two. So, and Rob had got down even below even the lowest of the appraisal, so.
And the family very much wanted this property to ultimately be a park, but you were negotiating with an appraiser and an auctioneer and a land.
And of course, well,
For the budget resolution.
budget resolution too. Yeah, it's two parts, sorry.
Okay, commissioners, any questions, comments?
So this all comes out of open space and has to be transferred where it can be actually spent on, okay.
Correct. Yep. And it is allocated, and I'll have to do we're amending the annual program to include this to use acquisition funding.
Thank you. Commissioner Clyber, you want to take this because of where it is?
Sure. I move the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Department of Recreation and purchase final sales price of $1,120,000.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All
How
those in
much-
favor?
No, I apologize, just real quick. How much do we have in open space right now?
Well, about 1.8 million.
So we'll have still about
Still have some
800.
left over, and that doesn't include even the 25% of the allocation for FY '25. That's not even included in there, so there'll be
Right.
some more in there.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
move that the Board of County Commissioners establish a new capital project, Cape Horn Park expansion, and approve capital budget resolution C-24.05.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
And
you.
to keep these people here, well, you're gonna
Well, now we got to
keep
purchase
some of
now.
these people here.
Just me.
We're gonna talk about Freedom Park Challenge Course.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're gonna fill the seats.
I did. I introduced Corey already, so I
That was your
thought I'd just go and take the lead, but I'll sit with him for sure.
It's all good.
Sorry, I missed that. That's okay.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Recreation and Parks, requests your approval to purchase equipment from Game Time, care of Cunningham Recreation, for upgrades at Freedom Park in the amount of $392,761.81. The upgrades include the purchase and installation of a challenge course. This work is being performed through an Omnia Partners contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the adopted budget. And I will turn it over to.
So the Freedom Course is funded all by private donations. The Nathan C. Baker Foundation put a half of it in there, and then had a private donor, and also we got a $50,000 bond bill from Department of General Services, and also some people have just donated a little over time. So actually, we have more than that in for the Park Legacy Fund for that. It's like $408,000. But this is what the equipment came up with. Nathan C. Baker is actually going to separately pay for the entry, like an entryway to the playground as well. So this is all privately funded donations. The playground itself is actually kind of unique. It's kind of like American Ninja Warrior kind of style thing, with the obstacle course the kids are going to go through. The surfacing is a synthetic turf, so they feel like they're running on grass. And it's kind of unique. There's only one other playground in the state of Maryland that's like this. So,
So this is all privately funded, you said?
all privately funded.
And so we are just approving that they can go ahead and do the upgrade?
Correct. And also got to purchase it, then using the Park Legacy money has been moved over into an active project. So we'll be taking that money from there.
Explain a little bit for us on the Park Legacy Fund.
So we have a Park Legacy Fund that people can go ahead and donate money towards. A lot of is like with memorial benches and trees, but they can do just general donations for any particular project or just in general. And we kind of dog ear each of those donations to go in whatever particular park that people would be interested in. This one was kind of a sales kind of thing, or advertised so we can gather up those donations towards that. So, and it's been awesome working with the Nathan Z. Baker Foundation. They've been nothing but awesome. And so the timeline on this, if it's your approval, we order the equipment, and we're looking for probably installation probably in the September, October range, and probably a 3-week installation, and then afterwards we'll have a ribbon cutting for this as well.
Like you said, the word awesome definitely comes to mind. If those that do not know the Nathan C. Baker Foundation, I ask that you look it up. They are phenomenal, supporting the community after losing their son, and just a wonderful family. The anonymous donor is still anonymous?
No, he's the Veckles, I believe, Veckles, that's the,
I apologize, I missed it.
The private donor was actually, this is before Bob's time, but the private donor actually started this whole initiative.
Oh, no, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so,
yeah.
yes, yeah, so I do appreciate that. It did start before this, before you, and an anonymous donor came to the county and stayed anonymous to everyone except for 1 or 2 people, and said, this is what I want, or we want to do. And we started additional fundraising for the community, recognizing this, and the Nathan C. Baker Foundation also stepped in, as they always do. But who is the anonymous donor?
the Veckles, I think if I'm pronouncing their name correctly.
Did I miss it on here?
Yeah, it's probably not on here.
Okay, but they have publicly come forward?
Yes, they have,
Okay,
yes. Because then their name will be on the archway that goes to it as well.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty special. Again, nobody does it better than us here in the community. So I'll move the Board of Commissioners approve the upgrade of Freedom Park to game time.
Care of?
Oh, you're gonna kill me. Care of Cunningham Recreation in the amount of $392,761.81.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to look at a contract renewal for the Department of Technology Services.
It's interesting. Somebody comes up, somebody goes away, 2 people come up, somebody else goes away. It's like, it's.
It's like a ballet.
Yeah.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
A ballet?
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Technology Services, requests your approval to award the purchase for the renewal of the APC Symetra and cooling unit service to Chesapeake Mission Critical in the amount of $32,643. This renewal is funded in the FY24 adopted budget.
So this is the cooling units that are up in New Windsor, where the public library and other operations are. The whole purpose of this is if the electricity goes out, we continue to operate. The cooling units are there because of the number of batteries that we have up in that area to help keep everything functioning in the way that it should be. We've had this contract with them, I think, since 2007, and we do have this price locked in for 3 years, but we're only paying for the first year at this point.
Motion to approve the APC Symetra and cooling units service renewal to Chesapeake Mission Critical in the amount of $32,643.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
Is there been discussion about that facility as far as other tenants in there needing more space and you know.
Commissioner, unfortunately, I would not be able to answer that question. Nobody has approached me about IT having to do anything new up there.
Okay. Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, approval of resolution for 250th anniversary committee resolution.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're here to get your approval on a resolution to establish the semi-quincentennial Planning Advisory Committee for the 250th celebration of the founding of America. Just a little bit of background, and then I'll have my guests at the table introduce themselves as well. As you know, the 250th anniversary is coming up in 2 years, and already a lot of planning has been going on to kind of figure out how we as a county, as a state, and as a nation will commemorate that. So there are folks across the state who are participating in an effort to kind of motivate some events and programs at the local level. What we're requesting today is a resolution to establish the Committee for Carroll County that will assist in those efforts. So basically helping to coordinate with various partners across the county to have a really fabulous 250th celebration across the county. And to dig a little bit into what it means to celebrate this kind of anniversary. What does it mean to be Americans? What does democracy look like today? As well as how has it evolved over the past 250 years? And commemorating some of the very heroic stories that occurred back in 1776. So the resolution before you also identifies the Historical Society of Carroll County as sort of the lead partner in this effort. But they're certainly not the only partner in this effort. So I'm going to ask the gentlemen at the table here to introduce themselves to you and describe a little bit about their organizations and how they fit into what we're trying to do here.
All right, thank you, Daphne. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Thompson. I'm Director of Public Services for the Carroll County Public Library. It's great to be here this morning. I'm here also as the co-chair of Celebrating America Carroll County, a long-running effort that's been in place for, it's about 15 years at this point. I'm sure there's some folks such as Tony Eckert and Jane Sewell who are out there and they know the exact date for the start of that initiative. I'm also grateful that Ryan Melhorn is here. I was just about to cover for you, Ryan. Very grateful that we now have a co-chair of Celebrating America Carroll County, who is Ryan Melhorn with Carroll County Public Schools. Again, we have this amazing partnership between the public library, the school system, and this is just one example of how that operates on a day-to-day basis. So we'll also give Ryan an opportunity to speak, but we are so grateful that the Historical Society of Carroll County has offered to coordinate our efforts around the 250. So I'm going to turn things over to, why don't we give Ryan a chance to introduce himself, and then we'll turn things over to Jason.
Hello. And everyone, good morning. Ryan Melhorn, Supervisor of Secondary Social Studies. Again, through the school system, we look forward to partnering. And again, some of you attended last summer. We did some professional learning with our teachers on visiting some of our local historical sites to embed more local history in our U.S. history curriculum at the 8th grade and high school level. So again, with this partnership in America 250, looking at ways, again, to bring that to the attention of our students within secondary social studies as they move through our curriculum.
And I'm Jason with the Historical Society of Carroll County. Thank you for your support, and I'm thrilled to be partnering with the school system and Celebrating America and the county. And I just want to plug that the society is also celebrating 85 years this year. And in June 6th, we're going to have an event to celebrate that, and we're hoping to announce this resolution at that event, and we're grateful for your support.
Any questions?
Just a Couple, if I may. So I notice in the resolution, it talks about forming the committee itself. So how are the members of the committee going to be chosen? I mean, I understand that you want to draw from the Celebrating America group, but what if I'm an average citizen and I'm not part of that group, I want to participate? Or if I'm a student at a school and I want to participate in this?
Yeah. My initial thought was the committee's being pulled originally from the Celebrating America folks, but I believe we had discussed of having sort of open meetings from time to time to invite people for input. And maybe that's monthly or every other month. Trying to get things off the ground right now. We're still kind of pulling that together, how that looks.
I just want to make sure that this is as community-oriented an effort as possible, because again, not everybody may have time to attend a meeting every month, but if they want to volunteer to be part of some subcommittee or something somewhere along the way, I want to make sure that they have that opportunity. So do they? Will they?
Yeah, definitely. We'll create that mechanism, and even if that means that there's virtual meetings where people can't attend all the time at the society, we'll open it up in a community forum type way.
Awesome. That's it for me.
The work that you're intending to do dovetails with the state of Maryland, I would expect. The state of Maryland put together a committee a few years back, from what I remember, because I participated in that, but it was years ago. It was probably around 2015, I think, somewhere around then. But, so my expectation is as this is moving in this direction, all the communities, all the counties are going to start building their fiefdoms, their committees, and it's going to kind of merge into the state. Is that,
Well, Joe's been attending those meetings recently,
Okay.
and Ryan, so maybe you
Okay.
speak on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I've been in regular contact with
Okay.
Michelle Johnson, who is the coordinator of that effort. In fact, we were both judges at Maryland History Day
Okay.
just within the past month. And I know Ryan got to attend the last meeting when I couldn't attend the last meeting. So we've been keeping engaged with what's happening at the state level, too.
no, that sounds good.
And I would say that from the Maryland, it's kind of left to the counties to decide what they want to do, and again, following the guidance and kind of the themes the state has set and that they've set at the national level. There's been some leeway and freedom to kind of personalize it towards your community.
No, fantastic. And just a shout out publicly to Ryan as being a mentor to my kids in school. And, if everybody says they have a favorite teacher, well, Emily's, I think, was Mr. Melhorn and all the work he did. So thank you for all you do. So,
And since we're doing shout-outs, you guys are pretty active. I've seen you at Union Mills doing stuff. I've seen you and I've got to mention the Farm Museum so I don't offend anybody. I've seen you there doing stuff, and that's just great. And it's great that all the different entities can work together. So thank you.
And I do have one last question, and I'm sure somebody has already figured this out, but a couple of years ago, I took interest in the Battle of Long Island, where one of the regiments raised in Maryland saved George Washington's army from the British defeat. And I tried to look up the rosters of the men who'd served in that regiment, and I noted that a number of them were from Frederick County, but back then, Frederick and Carroll were one large county. So I'm curious if anybody's ever done any research to see who had enlisted at the time, was part of Frederick County, would then have been Carroll County, whether or not we have any members of that regiment who would fall into the boundaries of Carroll. And if not, if that's something that we could look into to celebrate for the 250th.
Sounds like a great research project. Maybe something the Historical Society and the library could look into together.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and maybe Commissioner Vigliotti wants to go rifle through some of the documents and see what you all have down there, because you obviously have such a extensive collection. And then, of course, I know we're talking about all the historical organizations, but we also have, with this, you also have like some of the municipalities are coming on board as well. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I know Westminster is. I'm not certain if there's been further conversations at this point with some of the other municipalities, but I suspect that's possible.
I believe Melissa Thorne with the city of Westminster has reached out to a few of the other municipalities to see kind of coordination of activities, and she's currently serving on the kind of the startup planning committee. So we have that city of Westminster support right now, but I believe there's going to be more outreach to the other municipalities to coordinate efforts.
Which I think is just absolutely fantastic. And not getting off topic, but to Mr. Melhorn's comment a little while ago with the school system taking the tours to various historical sites, I think that's just so important because, you know, it's hard enough at various ages in our lives as adults, but I think as kids, it's hard to understand what 200 years ago was and how they get into that mindset of the timeline. So for, you know, our educators and then, of course, the students to be able to go literally see it's not just a date in a book, it's a physical, real moment that has occurred, I think is just so impressive. And I've heard so many good things with all you all have been doing with that, and I just wanted to share that with you as well.
Motion to adopt the resolution establishing the United States Semi-Quincentennial Planning Advisory Committee for Carroll County.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Now we have Carroll Business Expansion Job Creation Funding.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Morning.
Commissioners. I'm here today to actually talk about a couple things. The first being business expansion support that we provide through the Department of Economic Development. As you know, it's, you know, part of our mission to support business expansion, support job creation, and local investment. And so we do that periodically throughout the year. And we have a project that we had supported over this last year that recognizes capital investments by a local company in terms of their business expansion and job creation of adding approximately 50 jobs. So we support that through a partnership with the Maryland Department of Commerce, and we partner with them to support these expansion projects, and they offer a lot of services that the State Department of Commerce has in terms of either tax credits or job training or various things. And then the county also supports the projects through typically reimbursable engineering costs and job creation. So today I'm here to talk about asking for your approval to support this business expansion project in the amount of $50,000.
Motion to approve the Carroll Business Expansion Job Creation Funding in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now you want to talk about Carroll County Infrastructure and Investments Fund transfer.
Correct. So again, the Department of Economic Development supporting business development and looking, you know, with an eye towards the future with regard to projects that we get and prospects from the state of Maryland or directly or through the broker network. We have companies that are contacting us and, you know, requesting parcels that are finished and ready to move in, and that's the standard with regard to business development. So the county has the Infrastructure and Investment Fund that you have provided each year to the Department of Economic Development, and we utilize those funds to support business expansion projects and relocation projects. And what we are asking today, and what has been a practice, is that if we have some remaining funds in that infrastructure fund, we transfer them to the Industrial Development Authority so that they can use those monies for future development. And as you're aware, in the recent past, the Industrial Development Authority has invested funding close to about $4.5 million to get the North Carroll Business Park finished and ready, and had completed all of the infrastructure that's necessary to be able to make it ready for sale. So that portion has been completed, and they're ready to move on to the next project. And so this funding will help them to do that in terms of the northern section of the North Carroll Business Park. So we request your approval to transfer that funding for future development.
Motion to approve the Carroll County Infrastructure and Investments Fund transfer in the amount of $500,000 to the Industrial Development Authority.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And now, you want to,
Jane?
with help maybe, talk about the Carroll County Farm Museum Blue Star Museum designation.
Right, and I think this is a program that, I don't know if you're familiar with or not, but it's a partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts and the Blue Star Families in cooperation with the Department of Defense. And so they have many museums across the country that are what are called Blue Star museums, and they have this designation. And what it does is it provides free admission to currently serving U.S. military personnel and their families so that they can enjoy the benefits of learning about history. You know, you were talking about some of the history in Carroll here earlier and the celebration of that throughout the state. And so what this designation allows is they usually have a period of time beginning in the summer, Memorial Day through Labor Day, where this designation at these museums across the country, families can go and visit them and enjoy them. And Jane's been very familiar with this program through her work throughout the years, and I think it's just a kind of another feather in our cap, and for the Farm Museum to have this designation and welcome actively serving military members and their families. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Jane?
And we get quite a few, actually, and interestingly enough, I didn't realize that it was only from May to September. We have provided free admission to active military year-round. I did it at Union Mills, and I have done it at the Farm Museum. So actually, when I actually read the small print and found out that it's only a part of the year, I guess I was surprised. But we've been doing it, and it's obviously appropriate. And
Well, you don't have to do less.
right,
You know, you can do this, have the designation, and continue to do
Well-
what you believe are best practices, you
exactly.
know, for our community.
Right.
You know, that's, you know, I'm not against that whatsoever. If that's something that you've been doing
Right.
as a best practice, and this just gives us another way to advocate
Of
the
course.
practice we're doing. I think it's a great
Uh,
idea.
We welcome any of the active military and their families.
Commissioner, you want to take this one?
No.
Okay. Motion to approve the Carroll County Farm Museum Blue Star Museum's designation, offering free admission to currently serving U.S. military personnel and their families.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll be doing a press release to put this out there so that, you know,
Great.
it is out there in the community and people know about it.
Make sure you also address that it's also for the Guard and Reserve, active duty, and also the Guard and Reserve, I believe, with Blue Star. Not old
Okay.
people like me, but for active duty.
Active duty.
And out of curiosity, does like a sign go up or something, or maybe?
We have a sign.
Okay.
We have had it always. It's there,
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
okay?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you, ladies. Now we're going to talk about Sunoco LLC, a purchase and delivery of bulk unleaded fuel. I didn't even know Sun Oil still existed.
Good morning,
It
gentlemen.
doesn't, it's Sunoco.
Good morning.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Fleet Management and Warehouse Operations, requests your approval to award a term contract to Sunoco LLC to cover the cost of regular unleaded, that is, truck transport delivery. This purchase will be made through a Montgomery County IFB that was a reverse auction. This amount is within the fiscal year '24 adopted budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Several weeks ago, the board approved the contract for diesel fuel, so today we're seeking your approval for unleaded gasoline. And again, Commissioners, it allows for the bulk purchase at a discounted rate for fuel.
Motion to award a term contract to Sunoco LLC for regular unleaded.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second. Any questions,
I just-
discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. What's the cost of this?
The cost fluctuates, so we pay rack market pricing, so it fluctuates just like fuel prices do at a fuel station.
Right?
But as an example, today the average gasoline price for the state of Maryland is $3.63, and we have it at the maintenance center for $3.25.
Okay. And then, what's reverse auction? What is that?
So they get the specs together and everyone that comes in with a bid, rather than given their highest, they go backwards. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an auction, but they're going down in price. So a lot of their pricing also, it's the Opus pricing.
Right.
And Sunoco is actually selling the gas to Reed for under Opus pricing. So they get so much of it, they can actually go under the market value. And so this one was extremely competitive from what Montgomery County told me.
I mean, I'm nodding my head trying to understand all of this. And I'm glad you do. And you give me a lot of faith that you both do. I just never heard reverse auction, but okay. Cool. Thanks.
Companies have started doing it sometimes after a bid. Then they have a reverse auction where you can cut your price and,
Huh.
and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I just never, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't come across very often. I think this is one of the very few times I've heard of it.
We've used it before for bulk chemicals.
Pretty
I
rare.
apologize
We've used it before in the past for bulk chemicals,
for bulk chemicals. So there's,
water, wastewater treatment.
okay, so there's typically certain categories where this may be more opportunistic in a reverse auction approach,
Correct.
like that, okay. Yeah, I must have missed it or just not paid attention to it, just,
It's not very often.
It's
Caught
not
me.
very, yeah, we don't do
Okay.
it very often.
Okay.
I think the last time we did it for bulk chemicals was about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
We actually
okay.
went with a different method. Actually, this time we didn't do the reverse
Yeah.
auction. We felt like this, we went out to, partnered with another county, actually we just closed
Okay.
yesterday. But it is a different method, and it is used, and in some cases, it's more beneficial.
oh, absolutely. That I'm expecting, if that's where we're going. No, it's good edification for me, so thank you.
Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we want to talk about the purchase of shotcrete linings.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Roads Operations, requests your approval to use ProShot Concrete Incorporated to pneumatically apply shotcrete to inverts on 3 pipes nearest to 4570 North Stone Road in Tawnytown at a cost of $44,440. This cost includes mobilization, stream diversion, debris removal, traffic control, and invert paving. This service is being purchased via Harford County contract that was competitively bid. This amount is within the approved budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Good morning, Commissioners. The pipes located around the 4570 North Stone Road are what they consider structural steel plate. Normally, we have to shotcrete CMP, which is corrugated metal. These are actually a structural steel pipe. So the cost on this is a little bit higher than normal because the grooves in these pipes are deeper, so there's more material that's going to need to fill it. We found these faulty pipes because of a big hole that developed in the road, and we currently have it plated. So we're running this. We do need an MDE permit. We can run it through as an emergency without the MDE approval, and we are within the frame of the restrictions, so there's no restriction on the stream. It's just a matter of the paperwork and the MDE permit. Is up in District 1, Area 1, and as I said, there's 3 pipes. They're big pipes. They're probably 40 or 50 years old.
What does it mean to pneumatically apply something?
They blow it in.
Okay.
They have it's like a big air compressor, and they crawl in these pipes, and they have a big hose, almost like a fire hose, and they blow it in there, and then there's somebody in there that trowels all the concrete out to make it nice and smooth.
Almost like spray foam insulation?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool.
Just seems like, no, that part's pretty cool. Seems like that could have been very dangerous if a hole was found.
Correct, and we filled it in, and as I said, it's plated. That's a very rural area, and there's a lot of farm equipment and stuff,
Yeah.
so, which is why we're kind of accelerating the process to get this addressed
Yeah.
quickly, especially with all the rain. It's, it's washing the dirt out, which is, the plate's holding for now, but the hole is gonna get bigger and bigger. so
Yeah, that's what I
important
would
to get it
think.
done.
Man, that just sounds nasty, so, okay. In doing this, will it be a one-day event?
It will take about 7 days because
wow.
there's 3 pipes, but they'll have proper flagging and everything. And then our roads crews will go back in and we will dig out a bigger space and we'll backfill it and then we'll re-blacktop and do the patch.
Motion to approve the purchase of shotcrete lining services from Pro Shot Concrete Incorporated in the amount of $44,440.
Second.
Yeah, just one comment. Since it's a structural plate and pretty large, I think the commissioner in this district should walk the pipes both before and after and tell us how it turns out.
And go inside it and,
Well, I'd definitely go under that.
No, I know
I
you.
can take you there to see them if you're interested in
Oh,
going to
he
look
would-
at them.
no, he's very
We'll
interested.
Arrange it.
he
would
is.
enjoy it.
I like doing that kind of stuff.
Wear boots because, like tall boots, because we will be in the stream, so.
Am I good with like knee-high, like rubber boot?
I have what
Okay.
they call the muck boots that go up to my knees.
Okay,
so
that's what I got, all right.
Will he be safe with a tie?
I wouldn't recommend a tie. It might
would
get
not
wet
recommend
as you're
tie.
leaning down to look into these pipes and
Not even
crawl
if I have
through
a
these
tie
pipes.
clip to hold the tie in place?
That would work.
Oh, okay.
Or just kind of stuff it in your shirt.
So,
Oh, my.
yes, and somebody will have the camera, and I appreciate that, so, okay.
We can get pictures, that's fine.
I'm
And if
looking
you feel,
forward to it.
not to push, but, he may be pushed down, but no.
I've fallen in a creek one time looking at these pipes and I would not do that.
Come on.
So now that we've done the serious stuff, any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Item 10, contract award site work to prepare a new pavilion at Carroll County Farm Museum.
I've been over that bridge before.
You know how dangerous that could be?
The whole farm equipment goes through it.
Wow.
I miss. Oh, here we go.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Building Construction, requests your approval to award a contract to Stanballs Incorporated in the amount of $27,841 for site work to prepare for the construction of the new pavilion at the Carroll County Farm Museum. This amount is within the adopted budget, and I just want to note that Stanballs is one of our approved term contractors.
Motion to award a contract to, I'm sorry, I did, oh, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting anybody. I thought I heard some whispering. I apologize. Motion to award a contract to Stanballs Incorporated in the amount of $27,841 for site work to prepare for the construction of the new pavilion at the Carroll County Farm Museum.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions?
Just one general question, I guess, for the county administrator. Have we made any decisions yet on the building construction bureau chief? Or we still have an acting chief there, or we do?
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11, budget adoption.
You might have moved a little more quickly than budget and management.
We were quick. Do
Expecting.
you got to text them, or?
Are they, Kathy, are they out there? Can you see, is Ted and company out there?
We can go get them.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So Tim, what's new?
Commissioner Kyler and I were in close contact this morning to decide which jacket we were going to wear.
No,
so
I didn't.
you nailed it.
Even notice. I noticed what you were wearing. I didn't know what I was wearing. My gosh.
Is it Couples Day?
And she's probably not listening, but on Board of Ed, Dr. Dorsey would often tell me I was wearing this out of season. I think you're supposed to wait till Memorial Day, but I'm not that patient.
Close enough.
What is?
I think Montgomery flag got upgraded or something there. I'm not sure what that was.
Tim, did you see that?
He tries to ignore it.
Oh,
Mr. Zaleski's on his way. Just so you all have them, these are copies of the first two resolution ordinance we'll be going through this morning.
Thank you.
And then we will have a copy of the big one for you all in just a minute.
thank you very much.
Or you caught me by surprise. Okay.
So commissioners just received copies of the top two, and then we are printing off the big one for you all as well.
Hi.
Okay, so just ready to dive in?
Sure.
Okay, well, first, you have the resolution to set the water and sewer rates.
And each of these have to be adopted.
Okay.
individually,
Yep,
just to
yes.
just to make it clear.
Motion to approve the FY25 water and sewer rates?
I thought we, I'm sorry, waiting for a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I think Commissioner
Opposed?
Garen's looking to say something.
Yeah, I just had to catch myself. We had discussed this, but it still has to be a resolution.
Oh, yes, yeah, you've had a presentation, you've seen it all. It was included in the public hearing.
Yes.
Now is the action.
My bad.
Okay.
Trying to catch up. All right, thanks.
So were you for or against?
No.
Against. So 4-1. Next.
We don't need this. right?
We do. Nothing changed, but we still have to do the portion for the.
Oh, okay, yes, right. Okay, yeah, so you have the property tax ordinance, and this is where my mind went. We're not changing the property tax. But you remember, we have the portion of your property tax that we dedicate each year. This was the alternative to what people like to call the rain tax. So every year, we do a calculation of what's necessary to meet those requirements. This year, it's .0152 cents of our 1.018 cent property tax rate.
Now, so this restricts a portion. Is this also about the constant yield, or we don't have to do that anymore?
No, it's not related to constant yield at all. And the old constant yield requirement, it basically said, even if you're not changing your tax rate, if you're gonna have more revenue this year, then you have to say something. That went away 2 years ago, I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
Oh, this year, was it?
year.
Okay.
They made the decision 2 years ago, but it was implemented this year.
Yes.
So that's why that.
Motion to approve the tax rates as presented, is that an appropriate motion? Or-
No,
Property tax rate.
I'm sorry,
just-
apologies.
yeah,
Motion to approve the
specific-
property tax rates as presented.
I thought this is about the portion of the property tax rate. It's not
It is.
about the property, so,
Yes, for the water,
So what, okay, so.
watershed protection and restoration fund.
yeah, so what you're looking at is carving out a portion of the tax rate to meet the state requirements, the watershed protection, so
Okay.
basically that,
Okay, so,
what we're approving, not the tax rate
Okay.
itself.
Yeah.
so motion to approve the 0.0152 cent portion of the property tax rate for the Watershed Protection Restoration Fund?
Yes.
Is that an appropriate motion? Okay.
Should we rate
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further questions or discussion?
Just one quick thing, and I know Mr. Zaleski mentioned it, but I just want to bring this up again for anybody that is watching. I know there's, I guess I'll use the word confusion at times, that we don't pay for the rain tax that was enacted a number of years back, but this is us utilizing county funds instead of us taking or having the taxpayers fund that. In the
Instead
sense
of having
individ-
a new tax.
Yes,
taxpayer,
correct,
right.
correct.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure anybody that is listening or watching is aware of that, because I know sometimes that gets a bit confusing, and I know there's that opinion by some that we don't do that, but clearly we as a county and as the citizens do. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yep.
the big one?
Thank you very much.
Okay, and you're getting this now because this is truly the mechanical part. This is when it's happening.
Just literally hot off the presses, it
yeah.
appears, right?
Yeah, the budget office worked through yesterday and today, and it probably doesn't feel like there was that much to do, but it's a lot of stuff. So this is your budget ordinance. I think we've been through this a number of times in great detail. I can read off some of this if you would like me to. I don't think it's necessary on my part.
Motion to approve the FY '25 budget, or do I have to say '24-25 budget? 25 is good on its own? Or do I have to say motion, do I have to do the '24-25 budget?
You can say 24, 25, fiscal year 25, either way.
Okay, motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
Well, I want to take a minute and look through this.
Oh, sure.
While you're looking, you okay if I make some comments?
Absolutely.
I've thought about it hard, and I probably cannot vote for this, and I'd like to go through some of the reasons and some of our history. Our employees are valued, and we understand that. I do have to mention that Commissioner Rothstein is pretty slick. He asked for something with pay increases that he knew he wouldn't get to try to get someone else to get what he thought he might get, and it worked. And so, thank you guys for giving our employees an increase. We are short-staffed. We are cutting services. We've talked a bunch about how road shoulders are maintained twice a year instead of 3 times a year. We've talked a bunch about farmers, and I actually gave them a contact person when their farm equipment can't get through a road because of branches, who to call. If we have a serious winter, we're going to find out with snow removal. And I'd like to ask staff, if we're not already doing it, I'd like to see where we're short-staffed in services that we've cut over X amount of years. I can't help but mention the library. We give them over $11 million. They violated state law. Probably all 7 board members were placed on their board outside of COMAR requirements. They picked a fight with the school system, and I'd just like to let them know, the school system's 20 times larger than you are. I assumed that our library system would have good reading comprehension, as the emails we received that included a lot of untruths. I'm not sure about that, but evidently they are mathematically challenged. I always like to bring up in probability the gambler's law, which essentially says if you sit down at the table with somebody that's got 20 times the money you have, sooner or later you're going to lose. Unfortunately, that wasn't wise, and hopefully they know better. Now that we're doing studies evaluating two things that they were already paid to do and stopped doing, and we do need to hold them accountable. There's been poor transparency, and it needs to be corrected. And again, I know everybody got, I'm trying to make sure they don't have to dub me. Everybody got their panties in a wad over 169,000. We fund them with 11 million, and they are responsible, the taxpayers of Carroll County. EMS, our past commissioners started a flawed system, and I was hoping that in 3 years we'd learn some stuff. All I've learned is evidently they were perfect with what they did, and we've thrown more money at it than they planned. $2 million in the last week or two, even though we didn't think we should fund it. EMS billing is positive, and I think it's going to be hopefully more positive than predicted. EMS billing pays less than 20% of our costs for EMS. The other 20 million plus comes straight from the taxpayers, either in increased taxes or losing services otherwise. I am a strong advocate, and I just talked about the library. I'm a lifetime member of the library, and I'm a strong advocate of it, but they just got to be honest and communicate. EMS, we need it. We need to do something. I think we set up a flawed system. We keep adding employees. We haven't, to the best of my knowledge, in 3 years, we haven't cut anything from it, but we've added stuff that wasn't planned for. And we just need to, again, 20 million with no plan and funding, and I'm not sure how much we planned on the billing, and that's, and in everybody's defense, that's tough to plan for because we're starting something new. But that's soon to be maybe the largest government thing going on in Carroll County, and we need to be conscious about conserving taxpayers' money. The jewel of our county is our ag pres and our farms and agricultural pres, and we're trying to strangle it. We spent hours and hours cutting token funds from nonprofit because we didn't like something they did. Meanwhile, some of the smaller ones that were issues that had some corruption weren't successful for whatever reason, we seemed to ignore, and the more successful a nonprofit was, the more we wanted to punish them. I think we need to keep our foot in the door, and we need to support the nonprofits. They're part of the quality of life in Carroll County. If they do something wrong, we need to correct it. We did raise taxes this year, which I'm okay with. People are trying to say recordation tax is a fee, not a tax. Check the state law. That's not correct. And my worry is we're going to raise taxes multiple years now because of lack of foresight. I hope we don't have to, but all we seem to focus on is trying to increase revenue, and I understand that, but I think in your household budget, in a large budget, in a company's budget, you have to control what you're spending. And last 2 years, we haven't done a good job of that. We talk about it, we just don't do anything. So I'm not sure, we'll see what happens in a few minutes, but I'm not sure I can support this. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I have a few to dovetail. When we asked leaders within the county what their requirements were, and they came to us, the sheriff, the state's attorney, the Board of Education, CC Visa, and others, and they said, these are our requirements. And the community college, knowing that we were in very challenging times, some, I won't say self-inflicted, but inflicted on how we're doing business with fire EMS, and then some that are mandated, like Blueprint has been just, as Mr. Zaleski would say, a herd of elephants that we have to figure out. And it was a very pointed question, you know, in order for you to meet the needs that you have to support our community and the expenses that you're requesting from us, as leaders, would you support the county bringing in revenue necessary to do those things? We cannot do it with growth. And we're not doing it with growth, and there should be no expectations we're going to do it with growth. Even though there's some that feel that we are overstepping our bounds in growing by leaps and bounds, we're not. And we're pretty much stifled because of the market and because of you can't build more land that's already there. So therefore, the only other way of bringing revenue is taxes and fees. And every leader that came in front of us said, we understand, we don't like it, just like you don't like it. I absolutely don't like it, but they understand. And they said if there's a purpose for increasing the taxes that are necessary for us to have the continued service of our sheriff's department, state's attorney, Board of Education, or excuse me, CCPS, not Board of Education, CCPS, then we understand and we support you in doing that and making your decisions. It's our responsibility and accountability that lies on us in making those decisions, but it's important that we got the support from the community and the community leaders as they are looking to increase their necessary services and keeping them into the 21st century, I guess we are, to meet the needs of the community. So they all supported those needs. We then had the joint meeting with the Board of Education. It was a bit convoluted when asked about taxes, but the sentiment was still in understanding that taxes were needed to be raised if necessary. There was a couple that were not, and they were very clearly not for it. Meanwhile, they did unanimously, prior to that, have their budget at 10.8 million, which we could not serve. And we were able to get to 6 million, although I think if we could get higher than that, that would have been a better situation. We have a wonderful superintendent and Board of Education and amazing teachers in the community. And we are woefully short in our teachers right now. That's not, you know, a question, that's just a fact. And they're recruiting their teachers the best they can. So the question is, well, why give them the money now when you don't have to give them the money tomorrow? Well, in order to recruit and retain, you've got to be insightful to the community at large. It's the same thing with fire EMS. How are we going to hire those necessary when it's very competitive in the region and in the state? And the only way to do it is by putting the money necessary to entice or to appeal for recruitment and retention. Not, you know, and I'm glad we move forward with the fees. I do not like when we don't move forward with fees and there's a sticker shock after time, and that's happened in the past. So we've got to, again, listen to our leaders, which we got amazing workforce in this community, in this county, and they're saying these are the fees necessary. So for us to challenge that and question that and say no to that, I'm like, that's a revenue necessary, and it's a fee for specific services. Dovetailing on what Commissioner Crowder, you shared about recordation, it is a tax. It is not a fee. So we are applying a $4.5 million or $4-point-something million tax into Carroll County with this budget. Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I'm looking at this in chess and it's more like checkers, that taxes were not raised over the last couple of years with this administration. Governor Moore was very clear that he did not want to do that. The legislation came to a discussion and I don't want to say impasse, whatever the words are. You had the House of Delegates on one side and the Senate on the other, and I believe Senate Majority Leader Ferguson sided with the governor and was able to come up with a no tax increase or lessen the tax burden on our state, which I appreciate. I don't think that's going to happen next year. I don't see how it's going to happen next year. I had an hour conversation with the comptroller last week with a lot of businessmen and women, and I was able to do the fireside chat with her directly, asking her very specifically about what are the challenges. Transportation is going to be the biggest challenge across the state. In order to meet those demands, it's going to be taxes. So the state expectation is going to be to raise taxes next year. I don't like that. And that's, again, it's going to be taking money out of the pockets of our community. And I know it's challenging times. Absolutely, I know it's challenging times. I don't want to raise taxes, but I don't want to sacrifice the services we provide. We are very woefully short-staffed, whether some believe it or not. In my tenure here, you know, the longer it takes for somebody to get inspections and permits done, that's money out of the pocket of the property owner, the developer, the construction guy, whoever it may be, the guy pouring the cement necessary. That's money out of their pockets if they're delayed a week or two, not by weather, but by the slowness of, or the responsiveness, because we're only one or two deep in certain areas. We've got to take a harder look at that. We are short-staffed on the services. I applaud, and I'll leave it at this because we're done and we're going to vote on this. And the last thing I'll say is I do applaud our senior staff. You know, Mr. Zaleski, you've been short-staffed in doing this. Heidi, you stepped into a strong and hard role with Deb, you know, moving forward. And you have done phenomenal. And the two of you have navigated us through these decisions. And I can't think of a better duo than the two of you. And fortunately, we have you, and you're going to bring on one or two other people that are going to, you know, do a lot of hard work. But having you two at the helm is so important, along with you have Roberta and Deb, and, you know, I won't talk about Tim, but being at the helm of navigating our staff and clearly, and Roberta, you sharing with the team, these are the demands that are happening and these are the questions that are being asked. And instead of asking for everything, these are the things you need to ask for. And Deb, I think leading that Tiger team of hires was so important because it limited us to only having to look at 3 as opposed to 23. So the two of you, just, again, phenomenal work. Fortunately, we have, I always say, wisdom is experience and education, and we have very wise folks that are leading our way and navigating us through the process. The two things that'll still remain, Blueprint and Fire EMS, and they're going to continue over the next few years. From day one, I said, let's focus on not using one-time funds. From the first conversation I had, the first email, the first text, the first whatever, that was always like the thing was, please don't, let's focus on not using, because I made mistakes in the past with firing masks, just like Commissioner Kyler shared. With the last board, we were stuck in doing something, and I think we did the best we could with the information we had. We made mistakes. And we have the ability to fix and right those mistakes. Righting those mistakes is not using one-time funds to plaster and make believe that we are balanced in a position, in a place where it's going to be very difficult. So, but again, we're going to move forward, and I think we have a motion and a second. I'm sure it's going to go through, so that's kind of my thoughts on this. I'm glad I was able to get to 4.5%. It would have been much nicer to get to 5.5%, but I understand, and I think we have just an amazing workforce, and I'm always appreciative of everyone that's a part of it, taking care of our community. So, thank you.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. So 1 to 4,
Wait a second.
right?
What just happened?
No, no, and no.
Budget didn't pass.
So where are we head?
Well, as we talked the other day, we have to adopt a budget. If not this one, we have to adopt some budget. Without a budget, and it's something people don't always understand, this is a budget ordinance. It is the law. And this is the law that allows us to collect revenue, and it's the law that allows people to spend money to provide services. So I don't have a good answer for you. What next? I guess the question is, what do you need to do to get to a budget that you can adopt?
I can answer that question. I voted for Tuesday because I was afraid of what other things would come up. Because we went, last week we threw $2 million at EMS. We let the library off the hook for any responsibility, even though we were handing them $11.5 million. And we threw one-time money at a budget that needs ongoing money. So that's my issues, is what we've done the last few days. Prior to that, I was ready to vote for it, and as I talked to a few people, if we'd have thrown one-time money at it and just said that's what we're doing, I probably would have voted for it. But then the other things that went along with it that I was assured wouldn't, I can't vote for it. So that's the couple of things that would change for me to vote for it. Anybody else?
Just a reminder that earlier in the process, when you released a proposed budget, we had a budget that could have been adopted. Things changed after that. I don't know individually how all of you feel about those changes, but is it possible we can revert to the proposed budget that you put out?
Oh, no. So nobody else has any idea why they voted no? I think I made it very plain.
I'm being clear from the very beginning that we will not use one-time funds to plaster on top of this. And I can look at that proposed budget again and saying, yes, let's move forward with that.
I support the budget in its current form because I thought that, it bridged the gap as well as it could have. I thought that it met in the middle. I found that it reached a common ground, and I thought that it did touch on a number of our concerns as individuals. And, I should certainly hope or argue that, given that, we're all not going to agree 100% with everything in this, and I would encourage, despite misgivings or despite concerns about the budget, because again, it's not perfect, it's not what everybody wants, this establishes a common ground that we can at least move forward on. And I would urge my fellow commissioners, given that, this has been a long and involved process, given that we need to have something passed, given that in my mind, this is the best that we can achieve at this moment in time, I would urge us to move forward with the budget as it is before us today.
Well, I think on Tuesday, there were a few positives that came out of that. I know there were things that not all of us were happy about, and I don't think any of us were completely happy. But, as Commissioner Rothstein mentioned, we did go from 4 to 4.5. I think that was a positive, no matter how all of us may feel individually on that topic. There's definitely been some back and forth on various things within that. And to Commissioner Vigliotti's point, yeah, no one's going to be happy with this budget. That's why it's a budget. And, we've talked about fire and EMS, we've talked about Blueprint, and the one thing that has bothered me long before any of us were sitting here next to each other, and it's not blaming previous boards or this board, but we have to, in my opinion, and I've said this forever, need to be looking deep at a lot of things. And I know in a lot of ways, various of us don't agree on some of those things at times. And yes, we knew that Blueprint was going to be huge. We knew that fire EMS was going to be problematic. But we've also got to have a farther approach of how we're looking at spending money. And I'm not criticizing when I say this, I'm just pointing out facts. We have two properties that we own countywide that are 7.6 miles apart. Initially, one of these projects was supposed to be well under 2 million, and it ended up being like 7 to 8. And that's 7 to 8 million, and I know it's one-time funding, and I'm not saying that project was a bad project, but it's money that took away from other opportunities and possibilities. And the challenge I see for all of us is we have to figure out not just what do we want to do for today or 10 years from now, but where do we go? Because having additional funds would have been helpful. There's been other projects and sales of properties that would have had potential. Now, we may not all agree on that, and that's fine. But the reality is we've got to dig deep. We own how much property in this county, but yet we're struggling. We do own a lot of properties. We own a lot of rental properties. I mean, I sat down and asked for a list the other week of what we charge for some of those. Some of those are residential. I realize some of those are at various price points because of situations of us acquiring those properties. But I think all of those add into what we're looking at for the bottom line. And, we need growth, and Commissioner Rothstein's right. There hasn't been a lot of growth in some areas, but one of them we haven't had in the industrial commercial. We've not had it in residential, and I'm not trying to criticize past boards for the past 16 years, but we've definitely held back the reins, probably in some ways more than any of us probably should have. None of us expected COVID to cause a massive boom in real estate. And I'm not advocating for taxes, but if there was ever a time to play recordation arbitrage, it was probably during COVID when the market went up and everybody was more than happy to buy a home, and we could have taken in a little extra money and then reduced it back down when the market corrected. But we can't go back and change that. We're here where we are. And the reality is, we got a hell of a fight on our hands, gentlemen, and it doesn't matter if it's today, it's next year, it's 5 years out. And I know we all have differing opinions at times. I know we don't always see eye to eye, and we're not going to. But the thing is, and I'm going to quote a comment that Commissioner Rothstein likes to use a lot, which is one team, one fight. We all need to get on that page, all of us. I'm not pointing fingers at any of us, but the reality is we're here to get a job done for the people of Carroll County. And we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to like things, but we've got to figure out how do the five of us do that to the best of our ability for those we serve. And I'm not suggesting we haven't. I'm just saying we're facing a lot of things, and there's a lot of things we don't know. We know there's going to be tax increases probably from the state next year. I don't think that's even a possibility of anything but. We've got record inflation coming. There's a lot of things in the economy that are questionable. But we've got to do it together, and that's my whole point of what I'm saying here this morning. We've got to figure that out. So that's where we need to be, in my opinion, and how we get there is the question.
The decisions that we combined in making, I appreciate that, Commissioner Gordon. The decisions that we combined in making regarding fire and EMS, they were significant. That we put onto the budget. The vital, you know, I mean, how many of them were vital? Where could they continue the operations and understand further their problem without putting on so much funds? I mean, if you look at it, there's a couple of large chunks. That's one of them. The other one is Ag Pres. We took that off. Another one was flat funding to FY '24, which is significant. Another one was, reducing the reserve for contingencies by a third, which, reduced at 1.6. So those are some big chunks that we did. The large addition of everything seems to be the fire EMS. So it's not about, I would say it's not about hope, and it's not about gambling, it's about the risk associated with decisions that we're going to make, and what decisions need to be made regarding, I believe, fire EMS, where we're accepting risk in moving forward. And if there's none, there's none. But, I think that's a discussion that should be happening, so.
I'm gonna make a motion that the Board of County Commissioners recess until 11:15.
Second.
Till when?
Till 11:15, is that 11:15?
Well, I'm getting on a plane at 5 o'clock. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in a room with the other four of you. We can kick the can down the road, but excuse me, I'm leaving for the airport around 2 o'clock.
I'm not
and
trying
so
to-
I don't give a shit what we do.
Okay, I'm not trying to kick the can down the road. I'm just thinking maybe a half an hour of private discussions may be a good idea.
We can't do that.
Private discussions one-on-one, we certainly can.
Yes, one-on-one, not as a board.
That's all I'm trying to, that's my motion.
Yeah, but again, is there a second? I'm sorry.
Yes, there was.
There was a second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, and again, we've had a lot of talk, we've spent a lot of hours together, and in the last week, we threw money at stuff and don't want to fund it, and I think I've been straight in my position, particularly Tuesday, and that changed my vote, and I'm sorry. Any more discussion on the motion till
11:15.
11:15?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So, are there any other motions?
I do have a motion. I'm going to make a motion, and this is revisiting an issue that we've spent maybe a little bit of time talking about. I'm going to basically revive an old motion. My motion is that we provided the library with $169,000 of one-time funding. I'm going to make a motion that we restrict $80,000 of that 169 pending the two studies that the library board has agreed to. That's my motion.
And I second that. Any discussion or questions?
Why 80,000? I mean,
That's my bad math. Technically half.
no, I got you, but, okay, so let's just say why half? I mean, what, just,
It was about half? Is
yeah,
that-
no, and it's not so much the number. As you know, I voted to keep it restricted. Why are we, I mean, is it 80 because, again, like Tom, you and I were saying, good faith gesture, we're moving in the direction? I mean, is that your thoughts?
And they have,
Well,
they've answered us, they're doing the studies,
okay.
they're making progress. And
Right.
do you agree?
But, I mean, yeah, I'm asking you, I mean, is that kind of where you're going with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is,
Okay.
listen, we're trying to do our best here to work
Yep.
together to move this forward. And I am confident that we're going to get where we need to be. I am, like I mentioned, I think on Tuesday, I'll be attending their first board meeting next week. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very productive. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody and working through these issues. But I don't know if I had a second or not.
Yes.
Okay.
You did.
You had a second there.
Any more
Okay.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I think that's your first 5-0 vote.
It definitely is.
Oh, you made history.
Did it have to be today, though?
It's the clock. Would anyone like to make another motion?
Yeah, go ahead. No? Okay. We're going to have to, so what are we doing now? We're going to make a motion to adopt the budget. And then I'm going to have, I'm not sure how we're going to do this.
Does order matter?
Depends on what it is.
Okay.
He wants to talk about relooking at recordation tax at some point in time. Does it matter whether we approve the budget first or approve that first? Is that relevant to this ordinance?
It is not relevant to the ordinance, so that would just be a board action that I would argue you could take up anytime.
But why wouldn't it be an amendment to the vote on the budget, though? Why wouldn't that make sense?
Because there's nothing in the law about what you might want to reconsider in the future. That would just be the board expressing their intent.
Are you talking about
Oh,
something
or maybe I
being
misunderstood.
contingent? It sounds like you're saying is something contingent.
Not contingent, but where I'm going with this is, again, everybody who's watching or listening knows we're a little bit of a stalemate. So the recordation tax is a point of contention. I'm glad the property tax proposal's gone. I've made no, that's no mystery with me. But I'm trying to find a way for the recordation tax. We think revenue is going to be a certain amount. I've advocated, at least I've mentioned several times, that I think it might be higher. If the revenue comes in higher than we initially expected, and revenue's revenue, when we get it, it's ours, then they will immediately make adjustments to recordation or removal of the recordation tax increases as a result of the additional revenue. It's almost a trigger, that if we get the money and revenue that we need, that it affects the revenue tax rates. That's what I'm trying to work towards, but I thought it would probably be an amendment to the budget motion as opposed to a separate motion. And I know we can look at that anytime during the year, and I think it's something we need to be looking at constantly, but for this particular case,
Yeah, I think, not that you can't blindly trust us, if that's affects how you feel about the budget, you need to do that first. And if we vote that we're going to reconsider something in 6 months, then then that's our policy now.
Correct.
And if we do that before we approve the budget, then that's, but yeah, I don't think we have to tie it to the budget, but if I'm you, I do that first, because I might vote for the budget and then dish you.
Yeah.
So, and I think I'd pick something. In 4 months, we'll reconsider it, or something based on additional revenue, or whatever timing is appropriate.
But help me, what I'm trying to accomplish, though, I want to make sure is clear.
Yep, I think I'm with you.
That we have had discussions for the past 10 weeks about revenue being lower than it was last year, and it is. But we don't know that chapter hasn't been written yet. And we're taking a lot of actions based on the fact that we think that number is going to stay the same. I'm hoping it's not. I think there's a lot of people who don't feel that number is going to stay the same. It's no reason why it shouldn't go up. And we're talking about income tax and property tax when I talk about revenue. That's it. I'm not talking about EMS billing or anything of the sort.
Now, I do want to be clear on one thing. We do still have income tax growth built into the budget. Between 24 and 25, it goes up 4%. What's changed is what we're applying that growth to, and that's saying we don't believe 24 is going to come in at what we budgeted.
So what is a good time frame for us to be able to look at you guys and say, how's revenue doing? Is it ahead of budget or behind budget? Where is it at? Is there a certain date that triggers us putting you on the spot?
With income tax, there'd be a couple different ways we could look at it. One is we will know 24 in most of the way through August. We'll know what 24 was. And if it turns out that 24 came in $10 million higher than what we've built into our expectations, we will know that, and then that would have implications for our expectations for 25. If you want to know when will we know more about 25, our first look is at the end of November, and then we see about a quarter of what we'll see for the year. So it's important in its visibility, but it doesn't tell us with great certainty what's going to happen. The next look is at the end of February, and then we'll have about half of what we'll know for the year. And then the next is at the end of May. And of course, by that point, we're almost through the year anyway. So it depends on getting a number and how much certainty you want to have from that number. The most certain thing would be, in August, we'll know what 24 is.
For income, and then
Income tax.
property maybe
Oh.
November, so
Property tax is January 1st.
we wouldn't know in November.
No.
So are there expectations at this point that property tax revenue into the county will be going up in FY '25?
Oh, yes.
But that's
Above-
built into the plan.
Above what's built into the plan?
Oh, no. No.
What?
Okay, so
We already have
apologize.
built-in growth
Yeah, so,
that maxes out
Right.
the homestead.
Okay.
Other than, we talked a
Yeah,
little bit the other
yeah.
day about, if commercial industrial were
Right.
to grow much
Right.
quicker.
okay, so I just want to be clear on that. Then the second, the income tax, which is much more volatile to understand its growth, but we do have, up until this point, 2 collections of income tax for this year. Are those 2 tranches, the expected growth from that, it's embedded in the budget? Is there a reason to believe it's going to be above what's right now expected in the budget that you provide us in March?
No, which is the reason I've given you the number that I've
Okay,
given you.
okay, I
We
get it,
are-
it's just, again, it's hard, and you know this, when you're looking at the taxes and the revenue, to understand the trends, because the trends vary in so many ways, especially with income tax. So it just becomes difficult. And,
It is.
People want to say, we're going to get more revenue, and I get that. But the fact is, we may or may not. And
Yeah, and for people listening to this conversation, not a new idea, but just to go back to this again, when we're talking revenues, my goal in bringing a number to the board is always to get you as close to what I think is really going to happen without going over what we're going to actually collect, because that causes lots of problems. I have no reasons of my own to try to minimize what I believe you're going to see. I don't want to take money out of your hands for decision-making. And on property tax, I gave a bad answer to when would we know. The first, when do we see the tax levy?
Usually pretty quickly.
Okay, so property tax, we will know early in the year, pretty much with confidence, how much we're gonna collect. We get data from the state that says, here's what it looks like. But there are still some uncertainties in that. One is, you don't know what appeals will be. You don't know if the state made a mistake that will have to get corrected later. And the other is as they pick up new growth. And we hear about that later in the year. But the biggest part of property tax is pretty well known early on.
So, based on all that, Commissioner Guerin, would you be comfortable making a motion that said, the end of August is 3 months away, so saying every 3 months, we're gonna evaluate income and make a decision on recordation taxes based on that evaluation?
Yeah, no, I see, my issue with that is we haven't passed the budget yet, so there is no increase in recordation tax. Right.
Yes.
And so there's a problem there.
So are you comfortable doing?
So that's why I'm more comfortable with an amendment to the motion for the budget, because it ties it directly to this particular budget.
I don't think we can by law.
Well, I don't know, Tim can weigh in on this. I mean, I guess you could make the vote that way. I'm just saying, that won't show up in the ordinance anywhere. There's no place for a contingent
Are
action.
you okay with that?
Well, I think.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, because again, I want to make sure that provision, if you want to call it that, and I understand it's a little clunky, and it's not completely well thought out, ties it directly to this vote.
And you're an optimist.
One vote for the vote. I'm
That's
sorry?
good. And you're an optimist, so that's good.
I'm an optimist, but I think it's important for people to see that.
Yep.
From some of us.
I understand
That-
this, and
and-
this'll, my opinion, this'll help us with next year's budget, because we're gonna be looking at the income and track it, and it'll either give us, and again, I've heard it from the state people, it'll either give us more confidence or make us understand that it's not predictable.
Yeah.
But we'll learn as we do it, so I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm not, I hope that things are a little more clear next year. Of course, I don't think any of us are optimistic that they will, considering you never know what's coming out of the General Assembly. The other reason I'm willing to I broach this issue, and I wanted to have a discussion about it, is because I will admit that there were a lot of things in this budget that I pushed for and I got, particularly the issues surrounding fire and EMS. And at the very last moment, because we had some additional information coming in about EMS billing, I thought it was prudent to broach this issue with the FADOs. And as far as I can tell, I think I've had the support of every single commissioner through this whole issue. And the question's been asked, well, what's next for fire and EMS, since the board spent so much time on it? Maybe not as much time as the library, but almost as much time as that.
You're cruel.
The issue is going to be, I had to throw that in there, Commissioner Kyler, but the issue is going to be, what does the data tell us? It's going to be more about data than dollars moving forward. And I don't know how long that's going to take. The question, I'm already getting the questions, well, how long do you start adding more people? How long till you decide what to do? I don't know the answer to that. I think it's going to be at least a year, because we have to figure out exactly how these changes that are ongoing and constant are affecting our fire and EMS system. And yes, it is a ton of money. And that doesn't even take on it, which of course are our own employees that are putting their lives at risk for public safety, but also the thousands of volunteers that are out there, and you know how we all feel about the men and women doing that. So that's why I'm willing to try to create this provision for the recordation tax that if we do find ourselves in a better position financially, we're going to make changes. We're going to reduce it down. My goal will be to reduce it down no matter what, every single budget cycle that we have. And the issue being that we know we're not going to tax or spend our way into a good budget. It's never been achieved in the history of the world. So we're going to have to figure that out. We're going to have to, find a way to make that happen. So if somebody wants to motion for the budget, I'm happy to second and then make them regarding recordation.
I don't think that I can do that, though, can I?
We already had didn't you already have a motion and a second? Or was that the other?
No.
I guess that was
That
the
was a
previous.
while
Okay.
ago, I think.
We did
yeah.
that and that passed, and,
That's what I'm trying to do here.
Yep.
And if you don't, please,
yep, no.
please ask, and I won't take offense, because this is a brand-new,
Okay, is there a second?
Mr. Burke, with this, if you don't mind. The budget, I motion that the board add an amendment tying any increase in revenue to a subsequent reevaluation and reduction of the recordation tax as proposed.
Can I second the amendment?
Wait, see?
I'm not sure what that means yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you can second.
I
I'm
think
just-
it
I'm trying to
means we're
understand.
going to evaluate income, revenues,
Revenues.
and that we could adjust the recordation tax based on what we hear about revenues.
Why don't we just make two separate actions?
Commissioner
I'm-
Garing didn't want to.
Because,
Oh,
and because we haven't really voted on the budget yet, so I know we couldn't, to do so beforehand is, I know it's procedural, but it wouldn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
You didn't mention a frequency.
Do you want to do it quarterly? Do you want to do it?
I want to tie it to when we know what our revenue was for FY '24. That's the moment where we would, and again, the numbers will just tell us. I mean, the numbers won't lie. Either we took in more than we thought or less. If we took in more, then there'll be a subsequent reduction or removal of the proposed increase in recordation.
For your purposes, I think end of August would work. The financials aren't done at that point, but once we get that last income tax distribution, we pretty much know where we are.
Okay. So essentially, for those of us, in the Intel community, that word caveat, I'm strongly caveating my support for this budget in as relation to revenue and the motion stands.
Okay.
So-
And
And I agree to
the
the.
plan is we'll do it in August, at the end of August.
so what
The amendment.
we're talking about is using revenue from income tax, if appropriate, to then offset the decision on recordation.
I mean, revenue in terms of income or property taxes, whichever. But I did specifically leave out EMS billing as a revenue source, if you will. I'm trying to get us to someplace where we can approve this budget.
I
So,
understand
any-
that the challenge is that
obvious.
it's gonna, we're still being short-sighted for FY '25, as opposed to building a budget for 1+3, 1+5. We're still going to be in a significant deficit for '26 forward. And we're gonna be going through the same challenge if we don't do that. Again, I understand the point that we don't want to levy any taxes on our community. I get that. But my challenge is having a strategic focus. You know where I'm going to stand on this, because, again, if we're determined to use one-time funds, which I'm against, it's like, if we're going to do it, then why not do it all the way? And give the schools, give the fire EMS give everybody the things that they were asking for. I don't want to go down that path into that conversation, but that's kind of my challenge is, you know, we're doing things halfway. And we got to get to a place where we commit ourselves and this county that we will not use our savings account, not use the one-time funds to plaster over ongoing expenses. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Just before.
Understood. And
What?
The amendment and.
You agree to it?
And you,
I agree.
okay, so.
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
so is there any more discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, 4-1. Now we're back to voting on the motion with the amendment to approve the budget ordinance. Any discussion on that?
And I would just add that, I mean, it was just mentioned a moment ago that the budget doesn't look good through FY '30. And I don't think at any point during these 10 weeks of budget negotiations, it ever looked good. Even when we had the property tax increases in there, it didn't look good. To vote against the budget because we might be using savings for it, I understand. To vote against the budget because it doesn't raise taxes enough, I don't understand.
Understood. Any more discussion or questions?
Okay, but we're still, if approving this ordinance, putting $4.5 million in taxes in place with this ordinance.
Correct.
I understand the amendment.
Yeah, I
but-
think
But
sorry.
I understand the amendment, but we're still, with the ordinance, putting $4.5 million in place.
Yeah, I think the estimate's 4.2.
Or-
Yes.
Potentially,
Okay,
but
yeah.
who knows? I mean, the market is
Right.
completely
Yes.
nuts.
All those in favor?
This is for the
Aye.
budget. I'm just clarifying, this
Sorry.
is the
You have
budget vote?
another-
I just had a quick clarification, this is
go
the
ahead.
budget.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
I get anxious. Do you have a question?
I just was making sure it was the budget.
Oh, okay, okay. So, yeah, the motion is we're, to use his words, we're approving the budget ordinance with his caveat.
Okay, gotcha.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
So 3-2.
I'd just like to make one last small, brief comment about this. I'm glad this is over. I've spent so much time looking at FY '25 budget, I thought the year was 2025 yesterday when I was responding to one of Roberta's emails.
Well, it's okay, I thought something was Friday too, so we were both,
Yeah.
we're good. We got ourselves straightened out.
And I have one request. Can the budget office throw away the voodoo doll of me and pull the pins out so I can move around?
Can't make any promises.
You still have to-
Thank
you. Still
you.
have to adjourn, right?
Oh, my gosh. Do we have any public comment?
I have none on the line, sir.
Okay.
Bunch of stuff.
Admin session open. Any commissioner comments?
I have one thing. Just earlier received an email from, I'm not going to get his rank correct, Dave Stem with the Sheriff's Office, that beginning in June 13th specifically, PennDOT, so Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, is going to start working on a bridge on Route 97, just over the Maryland-PA line. You're nodding, so maybe some of you are already familiar with this. I was not.
I got the email.
Sorry?
I also received the email.
Yeah, he sent it to everyone.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay,
you may have
okay.
looked at it
Got
or
it.
not, but I'm saying this as much for you as for the listening public, but it will impact folks traveling north and south on Route 97 to and from Pennsylvania. I just thought, we should know, and we should probably coordinate with PennDOT to get something out to the citizens of Carroll too, since they tend to travel that road as well as Pennsylvania residents.
When does that start again, Ms. Wyndham?
So June 13th is what the email says, and it's supposed to last all summer, till August something or another. I think the 16th, if I remember correctly. I just closed the email, but anyway, we'll reach out to PennDOT and see what info. They have the map that was attached to the email shows a detour route, which
Circuitous.
So
is quite circuitous. Yes, yeah.
So
June
Staff's
13th
gonna
to
reach out
16th.
to MDOT, to State Highway, and
Who is?
is it necessary to put out a press release or something to the people not listening to us right now?
I would think so. I think that it's
So
it's
can we do
courtesy to
that?
our citizens to advise them that that will be closed and that there are.
Guys okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
I can certainly share it from Facebook that posted that was shared this morning.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, and then you have a bunch of things to sign. So the three ordinances, three documents related to the ordinance, the resolution from today, and all the procurement stuff, and the resolution for the Babylon Bridge.
A point of order that I should know, but like I said earlier, there's a lot of things I should know. Once we approve any resolution, signing it or not signing it is irrelevant to how we voted.
Correct.
But we can still,
I didn't sign
if
yet.
3 of us sign it, it's approved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Because
but,
three of you at
so we
least-
can sign based on our heart, but we're not required to, I voted for it, so I gotta sign it, or I didn't, so I can't.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you didn't, you still can sign it. You're
Yes,
fine.
exactly.
Yeah, because everything becomes a board decision. So if as long as it passes by a majority of whatever majority is required, then it is a board decision, so.
And habitually, I sign because we're a board,
Yeah,
not
we're a
1/5,
board, and
so.
Yeah.
you don't
then-
win everything.
And then
Um,
there's some Celebrating America brochures.
Which is curious, and I don't care, but I'll mention it. The 2011 resolution on 4-to-1 votes on taxes was only signed by 3 commissioners, which was curious. They were requiring a 4-to-1 vote, but couldn't get 4 to sign it. Now, maybe somebody's out sick, you
One-
know.
one was out of the office.
It was probably a good reason.
One voted against, there were only 4 commissioners
Yeah.
in session that day. One was out, and one voted against it.
Yeah.
And chose not to sign.
Any other open admin? Can we do the weekly agendas?
Wanda doesn't want to.
Can I just say, I know they're perfect, so we're not gonna, or should we read it? I know they're perfect, but we're gonna read them.
Good morning, Wanda.
Good morning.
Morning.
Monday is Memorial Day, correct?
Yes.
And Commissioner Connell, just make a note, even though it's not listed here because it's previous, technically it's on Sunday. I'll be at Pleasant Valley for their Memorial Day ceremony the day before.
So you're on Sunday,
Yes, sir. 2:00 PM.
okay? And at 9 a.m., Commissioner Collar's gonna be in Hampstead. At 10 a.m., Commissioner Vigliotti is gonna be in Tawnytown. At 10 a.m., Commissioner Gordon's gonna be in Westminster. And at 11 a.m., Commissioner Rothstein is going to be at Freedom District Lions Club.
Yep.
And at 1 p.m., Commissioner Vigliotti is gonna be back in Tawnytown.
The 10 o'clock AM is the ceremony, the 1 o'clock PM is the parade.
Oh, okay. Tuesday, 10 a.m., Sons of American Revolution Road Marker Dedication, Commissioner Vigliotti. Wednesday, right now, we show nothing. I'm sure something will happen. Thursday, May 30th, closed admin at 8, open session at 9. First, we get to hear from Mako at 9:30. Item 2 is acceptance of award for enhancing forensic-based investigations. Item 3, LED lighting at Maeski Park and Deer Park. Item 4, request for public hearing for DAF storage text amendment. Item 5, approval to submit community development block grant. Item 6, citizen service, state and local fiscal recovery fund. Item 7, request approval to hire grant-funded continuum of care coordination position. Item 8, request to hire grant-funded senior inclusion program compliance coordinator. That'll fit on a business card. Item 9, change order for engineering services Longleaf Pine Road Water Main. Item 10, public comment. Oh, no, it's not a public, it's just public comment on the item, sorry, I'm distracted. Stream relocation and stabilization improvements for Oklahoma Interceptor. then public comment, then agenda review and admin open, and then a closed session for land acquisition. Friday, Transition Connection Academy Certificate Ceremony at the Community College, Commissioner Kyler. Saturday, Maryland National Guard Fallen Soldier Memorial at, in Reisterstown. Have you been there?
Which one?
To the National Guard place going down towards, yeah. I have not been in there, and they're doing a lot of construction. Commissioner Rothstein will be there. Hampstead Fire Station, I'll be there for their dedication. And on Sunday, Commissioner Gordon is responsible for the podcast, and I will be in Limeburg for an Eagle Scout Court of Honor with Caden Farver. Good for that week, everybody?
Yes, sir.
The next week, on Monday, Century High School graduation, Commissioner Rothstein. 3 p.m., Francis Scott Key, Commissioner Vigliotti. On Tuesday, South Carroll at 9 a.m., Commissioner Guerin. Liberty High School at 3 p.m., Commissioner Rothstein. 5 p.m., Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, Commissioner Vigliotti. On Wednesday, Winters Mill at 9 a.m., Commissioner Kyler.
I'll be at that one also. For the, is it June 5th for Winters Mill?
Yeah.
June 5th, 9 a.m.
I'll be at that one as well.
And at 3 p.m. is Maryland Governor's Workforce Development Board, Commissioner Rothstein. And at 6 p.m., Planning and Zoning Commission, County Office Building, Commissioner Gordon. There is a second graduation that day. Oh, it's on there, 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
Man Valley.
I'm at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So at Winters Mill, Man Val. On Thursday, closed admin at 8 a.m., open session at 9, and priority carol, the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landing by the 29th Infantry Division. Item 1, option to purchase for Sean and Mary McConnell property through Royal Legacy. Item 2, proposed amendments to Chapter 150 Forest Conservation. Item 3, approval to purchase upfitting of 17 sheriff's vehicles. Public comment, agenda review, in close for land acquisition. At 1 p.m., Commissioner Gordon's at Westminster High School graduation, and at 5 p.m., Commissioner Kyler's at Historical Society of Carroll County's anniversary variety show.
Wanda, if you could, please add me. I'll be at that as well.
Commissioner Kyler, are you actually participating in the variety show?
Yeah, probably. Oh, my. Friday, Carroll County Realtors Legislation Panel, Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Rothstein. 3 p.m., Raven Tree dedication for the City of Westminster, Commissioner Kyler.
What is that? May I ask, what is that?
Raven, isn't it like, is it a business or something?
No, I believe,
You need to ask Vivian.
I believe it's a large sculpture they're putting up, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Oh, cool, okay. thanks.
Wakefield Valley.
Yes, Wakefield Valley.
Oh, cool,
Cool.
okay.
Raven Tree's an awesome name.
And yeah, it's out at Fenby Farm Road.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just curious.
Yeah. And Commissioner Guerin has the podcast. We done? Agenda review looks good.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys. And